You are absolutely right. Everybody is petrified by trying to become someone that they're not to gain clients that they will never connect with.
Yep.
Elon Musk couldn't work out that calculation.
Hey guys, welcome to the Rewire Your Life podcast. I'm Dr. Alok Trivedi, aka Dr. Rewire. Today I've got a super exciting guest for you. I'm super excited for you guys to connect with the world's first luxury concierge service. He is the speaker, coach, author, and he has spoken at events like the Pentagon, the Harvard, the White House. He is a personal brand on his own and speaks and trains and coaches people on how to live and how to be who they are. He has a marketing firm and a marketing agency helping become personal brands. And today we're going to have a whole discussion on the consciousness of building your personal brand, what you have to think like, because he's worked with people of all walks of life. You guys are not going to want to miss him. He's my friend, Steve Sims. Steve, thanks for being here, my man.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be back, man. Good to see you again.
You too, my friend. So let's dive into this. I know you don't do this anymore, like the luxury concierge business, but let's just talk a little bit about what was it like working with people who are like the highest of echelons in society? Like not that they're the nicest people. I'm not saying that by any means, but like just the people that are the most famous. What is their thinking like?
I'm really glad you made that differentiator in there about maybe not the nicest of people, but the most powerful. For 25 years, I wanted to grow by surrounding myself with very successful people. So in order to do that, I ended up getting them what they wanted and became the Mr. Fix-It to the wealthiest people in the world. Probably about 15 to 20% of those people were famous. The rest of it, you had no idea who they were. They just happened to be the richest person in Poland, Korea, these kind of areas. And you're right. Some of these people were very powerful, very successful. Not always the nicest kind of people in the planet, but there was lots of focus points that I noticed. And the singularity that they all shared from some of the biggest, if I can say it, narcissistic pricks that were my clients to some of the nicest people in the planet who were hugely affluent. And people have known that I've worked with everyone from Richard Branson, Elton John, Elon Musk, and again, people that you've never heard of, was time. They all value time as the commodity that couldn't be purchased, couldn't be obtained. And so how they viewed time, if you're the nicest person in the planet, you wanted to create the most impact. You wanted to make sure that every moment counted. If you were the biggest narcissistic prick in the planet, you wanted to get the most out of that moment. But they never looked at money. Money was always a byproduct to what they could get out of that hour. So I noticed very early on that they really focused on time. And that was the biggest thing.
Interesting. So how would they navigate it? How would they, were they managing their time? Were they managing the tasks in that time? What were they managing? The people the people they surround themselves? How do they make those distinctions on, or specific distinctions on what's the most important aspects of their time?
Well, they don't have to. You can. If I said to you, you're going to die in literally 1 hour's time, how would you spend the next hour? You probably wouldn't be spending it with me. You'd probably be hugging your kids and talking to people that you've grown up with, that you love, you admire, and that you respect. So they do that, and I would often see, and we've seen it, very famous people, and people look at them and they go, well, look at them. They're arrogant. They're full of themselves because they're not running over here to take a selfie with me. They just want more out of that hour than taking a selfie with you. Now, let's be true. And I've heard this before, and Gary Vee once said it, that I'm really cheap when I'm selling something. So, if you want an hour of Gary Vee on stage, you're spending 150 to 250 grand. But if he's selling a book or if he's releasing a movie, maybe you can get him for 60 grand or something like that. And you saw a lot of people are cheaper when they're selling something, because they're maximizing the most out of that moment. And it literally just comes to that. Is this moment working for me, or is it working for you? And a lot of people don't want it to work for someone else. They want to selfishly make sure they're getting the juice out of that hour.
That's so good. So good. Is it working for me or is it working for you? And that they value that transaction, for lack of better words. How do they build relationships if that's the way that they think?
Now this is where I can help. And I'll play a little game with you. All right. Cause I like
Okay.
doing this. All right. So it's, this Saturday, I'm having a barbecue. You happen to be in Los Angeles, and I turn around and go, hey, buddy, you got to come to my barbecue. And you say yes. What is the first question you ask me after I've invited you to my barbecue?
Well, I'd probably say, what can I bring you?
Mic drop. I urge you to try that game with other people. Okay. I did I spoke at an event in Tahoe recently, and from the stage, I play this game because people go, hey, how do you big ugly lump of a biker, make these relationships with Elon and ELTON and all of these people? How do you do it? And I play what I call the barbecue game. Now, you see, the funny thing is, some people, and I'm only talking about maybe 15%, drop the juice like you did. What can I bring? Usually it's things like, okay, what time is it? What's the address? Who's going to be there? What should I wear? What food's being served?
Interesting.
And, we'll picture, because they know who I am. Can I take photographs?
Yeah.
And anywhere between the 5th question and the 10th, I get that question that benefits me, the host that's inviting you to the party. What can I bring? So whenever you go to a relationship, think of it as someone else's barbecue. What can I bring to this relationship that's going to first benefit you?
Yeah.
And then go to me. I had an event that I did. I had a client that wanted an amazing dining experience in Florence. And I ended up taking over the Accademia di Galleria Museum that houses Michelangelo's David. And I had a dinner party at 9 o'clock at night for 6 people at the feet of Michelangelo's David. And halfway through the pasta, I'd had Andrea Bocelli come in and serenade him. So that was the kind of stupid, ridiculous shit that I used to do. But anyone that I ever communicated with, I would say to them, hey, I know we don't know each other, but what are you working on that's important and impactful in your life at the moment? Yeah. It turned out that Andrea Bocelli was doing a greater push on his cancer foundation. And it turned out that the Accademia di Galleria was actually getting ready for a gala later on this year to raise enough money to repair the roof. So I was now finding pain points, and I could go, do you know, I may be able to distribute the word on that foundation. I may be able to get some people to come in that could be bigger donators to the roof foundation. I think I could actually generate more exposure to your cancer fund. Would that be a benefit to you? And of course, what do they all say? They go, absolutely, great. Well, this is what I need. I've already established what it is they want and how I can be a solution to it. Now, all they've got to do is listen to me for 2 minutes in order to get what they want. Too many people go up to affluent, successful, high-profile people with their want. Hey, how are you? I've got this product. Could you endorse? Oh, I do this. I want to do it. I want to work for you. I want me. If you focus first on what can I bring to the party, then you will be the natural benefit.
It's another way of saying, like a mutual friend of ours, Jay Abraham, calls it relational capital, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's brilliant. It's absolutely correct. Like, what are you doing for other people inside of that? So when people are building their brand, right, Steve, when people are building their brands, how do they use this consciousness to help them get on other podcasts and get on other shows and build their business as a brand? Because look, there's a lot of noise in the market space. Like, this podcast is going to go out. There's a gazillion other podcasts. What makes their world stand out to be something different?
Would you remember at the beginning of this, before we started, you turned around and said, hey, Steve, what do you want to promote and publicize? Do you remember that?
I did.
And if I'm saying something that I'm lying, call me out. You've got the recording. And I said to you, I'm not here to publicize or promote anything. I'm here to hopefully impact others and resonate. And by de facto, they will then reach out and follow me if I resonate with that community.
Yeah.
So if you are looking to get on other people's podcasts, make their podcast as entertaining as possible, as engaging as possible, and a headline. Put all your effort into making sure that their podcast is exceptional, and you will win by reaction. If you are trying to get your podcast to stand out in a sea of other podcasts, then don't be vanilla and try and be like everybody else's.
Sure.
Now, you mentioned at the beginning, we run a branding agency. Yes, we do. I'm not here to market or promote that. But really, it's a scam. Now, who the hell goes on a live podcast and goes, my business is a scam? If the entire world stopped trying to be somebody that they are not,
yeah,
I would be out of business. And to be honest with you, I would love a world where you wouldn't need my business. But think about every doctor, think about every attorney, think about every financier, think about every plumber, mechanic. They start in business, and the first thing they do is try to look and act the part.
Sure.
And they say that, there's these stereotypes. Oh, I hate that stereotype. Then stop fueling it.
Yeah, stop being it.
Stereotypes for a reason. And so today, the whole point of standing out is the first thing you've got to do is stand up. Me and you are completely different. We're completely unique. We probably share a lot of aligning thoughts, and we probably have a lot of disagreements. But that's what makes it interesting. We are both uniquely us.
And I think that's important, right? Like, I think it's important when people do their brands and build their brands, because but let's talk about the consciousness of that. Because what do you think is the factor that people don't do that? Because that's, I think that's the $1 million question. Why don't people do it? I have my theories, but I'd love to hear your side.
I'll give you, it's so simple. Fear.
Mm-hmm.
People react to fear. Now they react for or against it. A lot of people will become stationary and will avoid fear, and a lot of people will run towards it to conquer that fear. But people are trying to stand up because today they don't want to be mocked. You see, we're not frightened of failing today. We're frightened of people seeing us failing and jeering. If you remember, Elon Musk brought out the Cybertruck. Now, I don't care what you think of the Cybertruck. I personally think it's the ugliest thing on the planet. But no one had ever dared to do anything like this. And bear in mind, he wasn't raised on an engineering background of automotive. Nope. He decided to disrupt an industry, and he brought out something that was so unique, so different, that all the big manufacturers in the planet, none of them was even a shade. It had 4 wheels and a steering wheel. After that, anything similar to anything else on the market was out the window. But they showed a test of the bulletproof glass by this gentleman throwing a rock at the window, and it broke the window.
Okay.
Now, the following day, the media wasn't, this was the most advanced technology ever on wheels. It was, it failed. Yeah. And he got jeered at. Now, did you see the rock go through the window?
I did not.
Did you see it in the press? Did you hear about it?
I did not, to be honest with you. I did not.
So a few months later, he actually did all of these tests where he got these screens and he fired out of a rocket golf balls at these windows.
Okay.
And they bounced off the windows. Time and time again, he threw these videos out there. No one cared, because people care when you fall down. They don't care when you get up. And so today, a lot of people are frightened of standing up because they don't want to be jeered at. And here's the dumb thing. They don't want to be jeered at and laughed at by people that will never amount to anything. It's always the guy that's in the corner of the pub laughing at your idea while they've accomplished nothing. And you are stupid enough to listen to them. So that's it. We're fearful of being laughed at.
Yeah, I would agree. I call it the approval, right? The fear of approval of others.
Yep.
That's exactly it. And how do you help people get over that in your world, and how do you help people get over that? And I guess I'll put a follow-up question to that. These celebs that you've worked with in the past, do you think they had that too?
Yes, and easy. So those are the answers. Do you know, I'm surprised by the amount of celebrities that I've actually worked with, and incredibly rich people that are still intimidated by walking into a room. You know, it's really, really funny. I had a client of mine that wanted to meet Richard Branson, and I was working on an event for his late mother, Eve Branson, in Los Angeles once called Rock the Casbah. And I'd brought this guy in from New York. The guy was, I won't say richer than Richard, but, you know, he had half a dozen aircraft and stuff. You know, certainly the bank accounts, I think, could line up very equal. So financially, the guy was as equal. I would say his business models were probably even better than Richard's because they were scalable and they were doing incredibly well. And I would say by now he's probably eclipsed Richard's money, okay? He wanted to meet Richard. As Richard's walking towards us, as he got closer and closer to us, he was doing the usual kind of like dodging the selfie cameras as he was coming over. He stopped to take a photograph. My client, now about 5 feet away from Richard, big Italian New Yorker, actually started to bow. He actually started to lower his head out of intimidation that he was now going. And if you notice that, how many times do you see like these Hollywood premieres and the movie star goes over to the side to sign the autographs? People hand them they bow. You watch it. Psychologically, people bow when they're intimidated. I literally put my hand behind me, smacked the back of the guy's head. Now, you've met me. I'm 245 pounds of ugly. I'm not a small fella. This guy was big as me. He's now about to meet his idol. I physically attacked him. I have physically smacked him. And it wasn't a little smack. It was a slap. And this guy stood up and looked at me like he was going to kill me, all right? And at that time, Richard stepped forward and I went, Richard, I'd like you to meet. And I introduced him to the client. And as my client turned around, because he was so reared up, he was upright.
Yeah.
He was now facing Richard as an equal, eye to eye, shoulders back, chest out, proud, actually slightly pissed off, but he was present. And as they started conversing, Richard felt that, and they communicated as equals, not as the intimidated little fan, as equals. Now, as Richard went off, the guy looked at me and he went, I saw what you did there. And I went, you were bowing over, man. I had to do something quick to get you upright. And he went, and I remember this, he went, I appreciate you doing that. Thank you very, very much, but never touch me again.
I would bet the same thing, right? Like, what? Don't do it again. But that's so true, right? Like in my history as a doctor, as watching posture, right? When your body is bent over, you feel a guilt and a shame that you're not worthy.
Yep.
That's why you're doing it, right? Like this is exactly what we're doing. And what you're talking about is with celebrities meeting people, and physiologically, we can see this every single day. You don't feel good enough. I got to look down. And if you're comparing yourself to someone else saying they're better than I am, you're going to bow yourself to them. And it's completely accurate in what you're saying. And I see it all the time.
You can't meet someone as an equal when the first thing you do is put them on a pedestal.
100%.
That can't be done. And you asked me how to help people get over it. For a start, they're in my sandpit. I'm thankfully not intimidated because most of the time I'm too stupid to be intimidated, but better than intimidation. And I want the people out there to think about this. Instead of being intimidated to try these things, be curious. Yeah. You see, the 3-year-old kid will never be intimidated to meet Elon Musk. He will go, well, does Elon have a lollipop? Does he have a skateboard? You know, is he going to entertain me? You know,
he doesn't care.
The 3-year-old is curious as to, well, what's the point of Elon being here? Now, if Elon shows him a rocket, then, now I'm excited, but not at Elon, at the rocket. We become too intimidated, and the intimidation overtakes the curiosity. If you stay curious, intimidation goes out the window, and you achieve way more because of it. By working with me, I've been able to go, hey, I'm a bricklayer from London that just happens to be doing this. You're already out of excuses. And then I run them through quite simply uncomfortable exercises. One of the big things I do quite often is I take people to prison. And just around the corner from me here in Los Angeles is a maximum 4 security prison. I take people in there to train inmates, entrepreneurs in training, how to take their street hustle into a legal industry when they get released. And
love that.
walking into, I've been doing it for about 3.5 years, taking over 100, I think it's 120 entrepreneurs into prison. And there's nothing more intimidating than going through gate after gate after gate and then being taken down to this block by armed guards and then walking into a room of quite simply guys that are in there for life, multiple life. Yeah, you're not in a maximum 4 prison because you didn't pay your speeding tickets.
Yeah.
And so it's very intimidating, but you come out of that room. How can you be intimidated with your Facebook adverts or your TikTok video when you just sat next to someone who wanted to change their life, but they were a former gang member and now they've got 3 life sentences because they were stupid enough to do things that they wish they'd never done? So that's the kind of stuff I do. I get people uncomfortable in order to be able to create the pattern interrupt, to be able to install curiosity. That's my drug, curiosity, and that will cure anything.
I love that. I love that. If you ever want to go in there and rewire them to help them heal their journey so that they don't feel stuck and guilty and shameful of what they've done in the past so they can actually move forward in that, let's connect and make that happen because I'd love to do that with you.
Come with me. It's because of COVID and everything, I don't think there's going to be any visits this year, which is sad because we haven't done any for a few years now because of COVID. But we're going to be going back into prison as soon as we can. So stay in touch with me in newsletters, social, wherever, and you'll find out next time I'm going in for sure.
Yeah, that'll be huge. That'll be huge. When you look at a business, let's just talk, forget business. How do you navigate? Because we were talking about this earlier, right before the call too, navigating business, personal, as you're building a personal brand. How do you navigate that? And how do you advise people to navigate that?
So I'm an incredibly selfish prick, and I will only do things if it benefits me. And beneficial hasn't always got to be accompanied by a checkbook. Okay. So I will go and do something if it makes me smile, if it entertains me, if it challenges me. So at the age of 55, I look at life now and I go, okay, how does this benefit me? How does this podcast benefit me? How does this time with this client benefit me? And so I always question that. Now, when you question it, you move with direction. And that's the focus. So if I'm working on a client to rebrand them, is this a brand that I want to help? Is this a person I want to work with? What is going to be the reaction to the impact they create? I ask myself all of these questions before making the decision. And of course, that all happens within split seconds as to whether or not I actually move forward. So I think today we need to be more selfish and we need to ask ourselves, does this moment benefit me? And in which manner does it benefit me? And then once you've made the decision, yeah, okay, I benefit from this. How can I benefit the person I'm working with? And then it's a win-win, and then you can move forward.
I love that. I love that. We were just talking about that earlier, is that making sure that it's right for you. I think right now in our world, and you can probably, comment on this as well as working with people in brands. I think people are so caught up in trying to be something else or trying to be at some other fashion that they're so stuck on trying to make everybody happy that they never make themselves happy in that journey. And then and their brand then reflects it. And then people, here's the thing that I notice, and you love to hear your take on it, but people will sit and say like, hey, look, my business isn't working, my brand isn't working, and it's because it's not really them. And here's the thing. I think everybody in the world can see it except them.
I've got nothing to add to that because it was too perfect. You are absolutely right. Everybody is petrified by trying to become someone that they're not to gain clients that they will never connect with.
Yep.
Elon Musk couldn't work out that calculation. In today's world, stand up, stand proud, and be prepared to annoy and aggravate people. I guarantee you on this podcast, there are probably people that have already turned off and they've gone, for one, I can't understand what he's saying. Two, I don't like his style. I want nothing to do with him. And that's fine. They'll go about their life and they will be just fine. And there are other people on this podcast that are going to go, I love this guy. I think he's fantastic. Gorgeous looking human being. I think he's fantastic. And that's great. The worst people in the planet, you create. And that's the fence sitters. Yeah. By you perpetuating confusion and lack of clarity and actually trying to be someone you're not, you build a tribe of people sitting on the fence going, I don't know about Steve. What's he trying to say? What's he getting? I'm not sure. And they sit on the fence. Your job is to kick the shit out of that fence and put them on one side or the other. go away from you, or come into your sandpit.
That's
But
right.
when you stand up and you go, hey, blue is blue, green is green, and I like pink. When you are clear enough for that, people can resonate, relate, and that only then can you build up a tribe and a community, which is the crucial currency of today, which is relationship capital, as the big boy James himself said.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Sims. Steve, so good, my friend. So good. It's just gold. Where do people connect with you? Where do people get more information? Where do they learn? Where can they hear you more? Where can they connect?
I'm very easy to find. Steve D. Sims. There's D in the middle for dashing, and there's only one M in Sims. Steve D. Sims, any way you consume your media. So steveDsims.com. If you want to go over to Facebook, I've got a free Facebook group called An Entrepreneur's Advantage with, guess who? Steve Sims. But I'm Steve D. Sims on absolutely everything.
I love it, Steve. Like you're so honest, so real. It's just straight shooter, man. It's such a great chance to get to know you a little bit further, connect with you further. Look, if you guys want a real straight shooter, that's going to help you become more of who you are through branding, through growing, through understanding consciousness as you evolve yourself. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but personal branding is the technical term of helping people find out who they really are, isn't it?
100%. I wish I was unemployed, but it's amazing that you have to employ a company like me to basically pull off all the crap that you've designed to get people to see actually how wonderful you are. But you are 100% correct.
I love it. I love it, Steve. You're so great, man. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you so much.
Look after yourself, pal. Thanks for doing this.
Hey, thanks, man. All right, guys. There you have it. Steve Sims. Go check him out. Steve D. Sims on Facebook, social, email, websites. Check him out. I hope this has been of value to you. Remember this. If you're going to be valuable to others, and make sure you're doing it authentically from yourself. Because if you're not, you're really fooling yourself and bullshitting everyone else at the same time. So thank you for joining me at the Rewire Your Life podcast. I'm Dr. Alok Trivedi, a.k.a. Dr. Rewire. I'll see you next time. Hey guys, if you like that video, click on the link over here and you're going to love the next video.